Yes. So now today we will also discuss 3 questions related to your GS paper 2 governance. 3 questions. Question number 7, question number 17 and question number 18. Question 7 is a 10 marker question on Persons with Disability Act 2016. 17 is a question about community participation and 18 is a question about Right to Free and Compulsory Education Act 2009. So I start with the first question number 7. Question number 7 says, Rights of Persons with Disability Act 2016 remains only a legal document without intense sensitization of government functionaries and citizens regarding disability. So the question is very simple. In introduction, we can say about Persons with Disability Act 2016 and how it has tried to make disability as a more inclusive concept by increasing the number of disabilities from 7 to 21, by increasing the reservation for disabled from 3 to 4%, and it has also defined the word benchmark disabilities. So this is defined. And these are some of the provisions of Persons with Disability Act. Since it is a 10 marker, you will not write all the provisions, you will write 3 or 4 provisions, that's all. Now we come to the body. What has been asked? Body says that the act is of no use if the government and citizens are not sensitized towards what is disability. So, along with this act, it is duty of the state to promote the awareness related to disability among both government as well as citizens. Now, why people are not sensitized towards disability? They are not knowing about different kinds of abilities, different kinds of disabilities. For example, they don't know about what is color blindness. They may say that color blindness people are not disabled, they don't look physically disabled, so they are not sensitized towards different kinds of disabilities. Then they don't know that disability is a social phenomena, not a biological phenomena. Now, social phenomena, not a biological phenomena means disabled are disabled because they are socially excluded from the mainstream. It is not biological problem, it is more of a social problem. For example, you can say that most of the infrastructure is not disabled friendly. That is the problem. It is the infrastructure is friendly towards the majority, not towards the minority disabled. So people don't know about disability being a social phenomena, not a biological phenomena. Then people are not sensitized how small steps like making infrastructure disabled friendly can lead to the inclusion of disabled. And people also are not aware about the issues faced by disabled. What kind of issues are faced by disabled? For example, they suffer from exclusion of the exclusion from the society. They also suffer issues related to the lack of employment opportunities. They also face issues related to the lack of employment opportunities. So these are the 4 main points, in the 4 main areas where government and citizens are not sensitized towards disability. Now we can write in conclusion that if the citizens and the state become sensitized towards this issue, then we can wholesale solve the problem of disability. And for example, you can say that government can fast track the implementation of Accessible India campaign, which creates inclusive infrastructure for disabled, Then the government can also identify government jobs which are more suitable for disabled. Government should immediately increase the reservation from 3% to 4%. And finally, to sensitize citizens towards disabled, there can be there can be disability awareness week. Then we can also celebrate disability awareness pakwadas. Then we can also celebrate International Day for Disability, generating awareness about disability. We can also have disable sensitized curriculum for school education. So in this way you can conclude your answer that not only law will bring social change, law along with sensitization will bring social change. So that is the question number 7. 10 marker, you have to limit your words to this much only. Then the next GS question that is asked is question number 17. Do you agree with the view that increasing dependence on donor agencies for development reduces the importance of community participation in the development process? Justify your answer. So the question says that the state is running multiple welfare schemes for the vulnerable sections. Now, when the state is running welfare schemes for the vulnerable section, state is leaving some gaps. State is not able to reach everyone. State is leaving some gaps, and these gaps are filled by civil society organizations. These gaps are filled by civil society organization. Now, civil society organization includes donor agencies. They also include self-help groups, SHGs, cooperatives, farmer produce organizations. Now, there are different roles for donor agencies and there are different roles for empowered groups like SHG, cooperatives and FPOs. Now, the question says that, so you can write this answer in the introduction, that both donor agencies and civil society organizations, they help to fill the gaps. Now, donor agencies, what do is, they provide funds to the vulnerable section of the population. They provide funds for vulnerable section of the, if suppose somebody is poor, somebody is a beggar, they will run welfare schemes for the beggar, rehabilitate them, give them shelter, give them food. Then, while these agencies, SHGs, cooperatives and FPOs, these are, community participation models where people come together, to solve their common problems. Remember that, just correct it, that donor agencies are not part of CSOs. CSOs include self-help groups, cooperatives and FPO. Donor agencies are separate. CSOs means civil society organization, a community of people coming together to solve their common problems and achieve common goals, to solve problems and achieve their goals. So, community participation means people coming together, and examples of CSOs we have seen, SHGs, cooperatives, FPO, no need to write this again. Now, body, what we say in the body? Now we say we will highlight the problems associated with too much dependence on donor agencies. So what we can write here? We can say that recent studies show that donor agencies, too much dependence on donor agencies create many problems in the long run. What kind of problems are created in the long run? They create a culture of dependence. Culture of dependence means, no, if they stop giving you fund, you will not get food from the next day. So dependence culture means no fund, we can write no funds, leading to poverty, immediate poverty. Then after creating culture of dependence, they lack flexibility in donating funds. There are lot of conditions which are imposed by the donor agencies to give funds. Lot of conditions are imposed by donor agencies to give funds. Then they make people lazy. They make people lazy. People cannot identify their latent potential, what miracles they can do if they come together. So people become lazy, and of course this is related to how this promotes the dependence culture. And we also become dependent on foreign countries. We become dependent on foreign countries for receiving funds and donations. So all these benefits of donor agencies, all these problems of donor agencies do not help us tackle the problems of society in a long term manner. No. They are all short term. They all help us achieve short term goals. That's all. Now we can say, now we move to the second part of the body. We say that how community participation creates long term solutions. So we can say how community participation creates long term solution. Now how does it create long term solution, community participation? Again we can write 4 points. Community groups like SHGs, cooperatives, they make people self-sufficient. They make people self-sufficient, which gives them a permanent source of income. Permanent source of income. You can elaborate here about SHGs. What is the nature of SHG? How women have come together and solve their problems commonly. What are the benefits of SHGs? I will tell you in just after 2 minutes. Then they can write, they can solve their common problems. They can solve their common problems at locally and grassroots level. Locally and at grassroots level. When people are empowered, they can solve their common problems. For example, when women becomes empowered through SHG model, they solve the problem of domestic violence, child labor, sanitation, etc. Then, empowerment leads to reduction in intergenerational poverty reduction. It leads to intergenerational poverty reduction. Donor agencies only might lead to poverty reduction only for one generation, but self-sufficiency leads to poverty reduction for successive generations also. And third, it is quite an inclusive approach. All can become members. All can become members of these community association. Everyone can become member of these community associations. So, for example, anybody can become the member of cooperative, and the cooperative will solve their common problems. So, these benefits of community-led growth help in long-term achievement of long-term goals, long-term solutions, and long-term goals. And for example, you can also elaborate about self-help groups, how they have led to women empowerment as a continuous process. You can write example of Kudumshri project, how it has promoted self-employment opportunities and income household, and increase the income of the household. So this is SHGs. Then you can also write benefits of cooperatives. You can discuss these points also. So no need of going in too much details about SHGs and cooperatives, because the question says you to compare between the donor agency model and the community-led model. Then finally, in conclusion, you can write, in conclusion, what we can write here, that both are required. We cannot say that we can work without donor agencies, but donor agencies के funds जो हैं, the funds of the donor agencies must be channelized for empowerment projects. Must be channelized for empowerment projects. For example, donor agencies can give funds to SHGs. SHGs in turn help in the microfinance, giving loans to small micro entrepreneurs, which can generate self-employment opportunities. So funds channelized in right way can lead to empowerment also. So that can be the conclusion, right conclusion. And the next question is question number 18. The Right of Children to Free and Compulsory Education Act 2009 remains inadequate in promoting incentive-based system of child's education without generating awareness about the importance of schooling. So the question says that, question is a tough question. The RTE Act 2009, which made education free and compulsory under Article 21A. Under Article 21A, the question says that this RT Act is incomplete because it doesn't promote what is known as incentive-based education. Now, incentive-based education is a concept which was given by Abhijit Banerjee and his wife Duflo. The concept says that if people get right incentives, they may lead to more, this may lead to more enrollment in education, and then education can lead to significant reduction in poverty. So what the incentive based model says that, for example, what study Abhijit Banerjee has done in US is that if deworming tablets in USA are given for free, there is significant increase in consumption of deworming tablets. But even if you charge 1 or 2 cents for a deworming tablet, the consumption of the deworming tablets come down. So the purpose is, so what I want to explain here is that students have to be incentivized to move towards education, and the incentives are weak in the RT Act 2009. So the only incentive which the present RT Act gives is that it makes education free and provides midday meal to the students. This is the only incentive available at present to the students to go to the school. One more incentive, we can say that they will not be failed in a particular class, they will be promoted to the next class. So this is incentive. Now the question says, these incentives are incomplete. More incentives need to be given to improve the school education. And the question also says that incentives are required to generate awareness about the importance of school education. So now we can say that because there is no incentive based education in RTE falls short of, what are the main problems in RTE? Poor learning outcomes, then no focus on early childhood care and education, then lack of infrastructure facilities in schools, and dropout after primary education. After class 8th, the students drop out of school. Now, the question says that, now we come to the body. After explaining the statement, we can say that if school education, what we have to explain, if school education is incentivized, then there may be better education outcomes. This is what is the question saying. Yes, the statement is true. Yes, school education, if it is incentivized, can definitely lead to better educational outcomes. Now, how can we say so? So, what kind of different incentives can be given in school? The first incentive can be to generate awareness about the school education, all levels, the requirement of all levels of school education. Now, what is the importance of school education? That also can be discussed. It helps in improving cognitive abilities. Cognitive abilities help in development of skills, and skills give you employment. Employment will lead to reduction in poverty, and reduction in poverty will lead to better health and education benefits. So these are the incentives of going to school. Now these incentives of going to school have to be explained to the entire community. So community participation is very important to explain the parents about the importance of education. So we say that yes, generation of incentive based education to generate awareness about the importance of school education in the following way can lead to improvement in school enrollments. Second, we have to incentivize teachers more so that they contribute more to teaching. For example, we can run incentive based system like we can link their bonus. We can provide them some bonus for producing outstanding results. So we are trying to incentivize them to improve learning outcomes. Then we can incentivize students to go to higher education, to go to secondary education, not higher. First, let's talk about secondary education. By increasing accessibility of school should be near, secondary school should be near to the primary school so that there is easy accessibility of the school. Now, easy accessibility will again incentivize the students to go to the school. So, the question says that the more incentives we create for the children to go to school, the better will be our educational outcomes. So, this is how you write your answer. Then we can say that the new education policy, in conclusion, we can talk about the new education policy which tries to handle these with this incentive based model. So, the new education policy talks about teachers incentives. I will just read out the points. They talk about teacher incentive system, then universal participation of children in school, early childhood care and education. You can talk about the idea of school complex to make Anganwadis and secondary schools more accessible. Then we can also talk about continuation of midday meal. We can also talk about Tamil Nadu model of providing breakfast in schools as an incentive model. Then we can also write that the NGOs, Ssgs and Anganwadis can spread the importance of education through community engagement. An important role to be played by women in education by incentivizing women to send their children to school. That also can be done. So the main idea of the question is how we create more and more incentives to make education more accessible to the students, to make education more inclusive, so to make education reach the last mile, so that there are more enrollments in schools. Is it okay? So this is how we attempt this question. This was a tough question. You should know about the Abhijit Banerjee incentive based model to answer this question. So that is all about your governance topics. Thank you.